Welcome to the Build Business Acumen podcast, where we deliver practical knowledge and powerful guidance. Here is your futuristic host, Nathaniel Schooler.
Gaby Juergens is the creator and founder of Homefront Girl, an international inspirational brand shining the spotlight in fashion and retail on the families that stand behind the men and women who serve their nation in uniform. A daughter of a veteran, raised in military life and a former military spouse of 28 years, she created a brand inspired by her front row seat to bravery, sacrifice and service. And she's a very inspirational lady. So let's dig into this interesting interview. Well, hey, Gaby, it's lovely to speak to you again.
Oh, it's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me, Nathaniel.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm really quite excited to hear your story, actually, because you've got a really inspiring story from what I gather. And you've kind of fought really hard, haven't you, to launch your brand, launch your clothing brand. And, how did it happen? What sort of drove you to where you have ended up?
Well, when I started Homefront Girl, real quick, I have a military family background, and I was married into the military, raised my son in the military life. So for me, it was sort of, they always say as to writers, write what you know. This was what I knew. And I had attended a licensing show, and I didn't see this mega demographic that I had grown up in represented in retail. And so I decided to look more into it. And then I fast forward, started to build up the collection of artwork, and soon got an agent, a licensing agent. And licensing in a nutshell is where an artist creates art and then it licenses it to a manufacturer who then places that on their products. And so that's who my agents represent me on that end, getting me contracts and getting my products. So I've done things with the Yankee Candle Company, which I was very gratified. Actually, when the collection came out, we had I had a lot of emails and followers from the UK who loved the collection. Unfortunately, it was not carried in the UK or Canada. It was only carried here in the US. But now it's available on eBay and apparently really in astronomical prices. But I was glad that so many took to it, to the collection. And so I have licensed to a lot of major companies that are gift companies. And along the way, I developed a variety of different collections, from Homefront Baby to Homefront Kids, a line that identifies really to the tween market and the teen market. And essentially, Homefront Girl was a way for me to kind of put out something so that within the military community and military families would find something that they could identify with and represented their lifestyle and their story in retail. Right. Which hadn't been done before. So I definitely, one of the challenges, and I had mentioned to you, I call myself the accidental entrepreneur because I really fell into this. I had no idea what I was doing. So if I could do it, anybody else out there, please, you can do this. But so it's been a sort of the learning curve as far as, because what happened to me is I tapped into a market that no one had actually ever really looked at. Mm-hmm. And that places for any entrepreneur, when you're starting a business, a challenge to be able to go to market and say, well, this is a collection that is geared towards, this market here. And if it hasn't been done before and they've never looked at that market, there's a challenge there because there's no actual numbers behind it. So the manufacturer is going to take a look and wonder, okay, well, what are the numbers here and what is the feedback and everything? And that was challenging. And then the other challenge was that they would look at the demographic, which when I say that, I'm talking about military families, the veterans, caregivers, first responders. So it's a very large market. I mean, it's just astronomical. Yeah. And it's an evergreen market because we will always have men and women and families who serve our nation. And so will you in the UK. Yeah. So it was a challenge to get them to see us as more than just a niche market. It's the patriotic 4th of July, or it's the Veterans Day. It isn't. It's every day. And so, but it's not a challenge that couldn't be overcome. And I've been very grateful and that so many first responders families have taken to the brand, because when I had to come up with a tagline for Homefront Girl, and my agent asked me, well, who is the Homefront Girl? And I, when I came up with that name, trust me, I was like, really, what am I going to call this? Because I had to come up with a name. My agent was insisting.
Right.
So I came up with that, and I said, hey, how's that? Do you like that one? And they said, yeah. And I said, great. Okay. And then I felt, okay, let's move on. Now, where do we go now with this idea of branding me? Because they felt that I didn't just have a collection. I had a story behind it because I'd lived the life. And so then of course, the next question was, well, but who is the Homefront Girl? And I was like, oh, darn, you have more questions? Let me get back to you.
Right.
So I sat down and I actually just wrote it out really quickly. And I thought, in a simple message, I mean, I've tailored it down, but essentially it's on the trademark, but it's anyone that's ever loved someone serving in the military or first responders and share that hero with the world. And it's really sharing your hero with the world is what it's come down to. And I think at its essence, everyone can identify with that, because whether it's a hero that goes into a burning building, or someone that is deploying, or someone that is going out as a police officer to do his duty in the morning and you say goodbye, that person is giving them themselves to their community. And that person that stays home and loves that person is sharing someone that means everything to them. I've said this before, military men and women who are active and have served never call themselves heroes. At least I've never found one. But the families have, really do consider them their heroes, their loved ones, and they recognize the service. But what I wanted to do with Homefront Girl is also reflect on that there's service rendered on both sides of what I've come to call the brave, because military families also serve. And I was a witness to that my entire life. I had a front row seat to seeing the bravery of our children, the bravery of our moms and families, extended and friends. And I wanted to give to the designs and that I created a feminine voice, which I didn't see coming up through the ranks. I saw a lot of the, you'll see, the regimental and everything else, but it's very masculine. It didn't really speak to the inspirational quality of the life that, because it is a lifestyle. And that's how I developed, really moving forward. What I wanted to put out is to kind of cement the bonds within the military community, but also to expose to the civilian community really what this lifestyle and the people that live it, what they're about and what they're like. And if I did that through some of the designs and some of the sayings and some of the inspirational words, then that's how it came across. And of course, it ballooned, into, I have a legging line, which is really very popular right now. I created about 65 camos, and they're trendy camos. They're not your grandpa's camos. Travel bags. I've got a line of beautiful platform heels for anyone out there who loves their heels. Coming out this summer, as well as a really incredible, here in the US, we call it kicks. So it's basically, sneakers, right. Converse type, Sketcher-like type of shoes, but they will be all in camos. So, and I'm really excited about that line because it's, the camos are fun and I've enjoyed doing it. Like I said, I'm self-taught, but I come at it from a perspective of loving fashion and color. And so to me, it goes hand in hand as a creative. And so that in a nutshell is a little bit of Homefront Girl. But one thing that I would add is that, I think I mentioned this to you before, is the boundaries of where this line goes towards anyone in any country who has a loved one who serves. And I was very proud to have been a part of in some of my military assignments when I was a spouse with the British and the Canadian army. And I, it was interesting for me, and it's something that I've pulled from, to realize, the differences is in how our lives are for a family in Great Britain who is serving, whose loved one is serving, and not only just the support unit of what life is like for them, comparing it to what it is for the US and Canada. And, there's so many similarities, but also I learned a lot from just talking to them and learning about their experiences. And then a few short years ago, in Britain, there was a music, a group that came out with an amazing song. I think it was at Christmas, because I know in Great Britain, you guys have at Christmas time, there's like a contest with the song of, am I saying this right?
You mean like the Eurovision Song Contest, the European one?
No, this one was military spouses.
I think I remember that. Yeah, we
choir.
have. Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think so.
It was an extraordinary, the way they came out, and the song was just so gripping and lovely. And looking at these spouses singing for their loved ones, and how proud they are. And it was very similar to the military spouse choir that performed on. I can't even remember, but it was one of those musical shows. But they performed all over the country now. I have a friend who's actually a part of the choir, and they come from all the branches of service, so Navy, Air Force, Army, Marines. I'm sure it's probably the same on for the choir that's there in Britain. But I did love it. I mean, and to me, I always looked at that as that there it is. There's that bond of shared experiences that these women and these families share. And I think that's in a nutshell what I really tried to get at. And so along the way, I have created a UK line for Homefront Girl. And it's right now, it's just a few things, and it is available at homefrontgirl.com. That's my website. But, I think that what I wanted to do was also be able, because I do hear from, I have quite a few followers from the UK, and they also love so much of what they see. But of course, they would love to see the Union Jack behind it, because that's their representation. Yeah. And so then I've translated a lot of that, which isn't difficult. One of my most popular designs was "Imagine a world without heroes," and it's a simple saying, but it's one that struck a nerve very much so, in a good way, with so many people, because it's a reminder, regardless of what country your loved one is serving in the service, they answer a call to serve. And we need to always remember that it's not an easy call. Nobody wants to go, but yet they do. And the United States is an all-volunteer force. I'm not quite sure if it is in Britain. Maybe volunteers,
yeah. It's all, now it is, yeah. National service stopped like many years ago.
Which is right. So like us, when we had the draft. So
yeah.
When you think about it, is, they're going in, they're raising their hand, and they're saying, send me.
Yeah.
It's so, I always reflect on the fact that that's something to really be extraordinarily in awe of in so many ways, because it's not an easy thing to leave your family and go off, and it's not an easy thing to sit at home and wait.
Well, it's not just that. They're actually uprooting a lot of the time the whole family and moving them all over the world. I mean, it's a very tough life, I'm sure, especially for the kids and the wives. It must be very, very hard. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, it's hard on the kids because you are always the new kid.
Yeah.
In the US, every 2 or 3 years is the move.
Yep.
Some less, time and place. And then for the mothers or the wives or the spouses, both male and female, it's you got to start over. And having a career, there's only a few portable career options when you're dealing with this kind of transition, constantly going and moving. So you do give up quite a bit. So it's like I said, service is being rendered on both sides.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that the collections that I've created have been able to touch people in that way, and also that I've been able to tie some of the collections to military charities that mean a lot to me.
Well, I think that's really important. I think sharing, charitable efforts, let's say, is really important these days, because there are so many people that just need help, and it's like, if you just share maybe a word with someone, you might help them and stop them from committing suicide. But if you are, giving money towards charities, then those charities can really change a lot of lives, can't they?
Absolutely. One the limited edition collection I did for Yankee Candle, that was for the purchase of every candle that you bought from Yankee, and it was carried at all 500 stores here in the United States and online. A portion went back to Homes for Our Troops, which builds adaptive mortgage-free homes to triple amputees.
Wonderful. Wow.
And so that makes a world of difference to someone that has literally given all in many ways. Their life is forever transformed, and so is their family. Military caregivers are another one that I don't, it's extraordinary to suddenly find yourself in that role. But but the resources are important for them to be because being a caregiver is difficult at best. And so they require also the resources to be supported as they go through the transitions and adapting to a loved one that is either visible scars or invisible. And so they have their lives have been transformed and changed due to service for their nation. So, and one of the things that I'd mentioned to you earlier is that, as anything, one of the things that I'd heard back from a couple of Canadian wives who had written to me in regards to some of the designs that they had seen, and then they wanted, of course, the maple leaf on it.
Of course,
of course, and what they told me really was that they sometimes felt like they, within so many ways, invisible within really the scope of things. Everyone is very proud and loves them and everything, but not a lot of people really look into that other side, the fact that there's a family that's there, that's also, missing a loved one. And that this was a way, what they saw, as much as it was, Homefront Girl was, I started here, as an American, I started for our military men and women, but the inspirational quality of it was something that they felt gave them a voice in a way that they hadn't seen in retail before. And really, that was one of the things that gave me the impetus to continue, because I felt that it was sort of a watershed moment for me when I realized how many people really gravitated to the designs. In particular, I am the other half of the brave. That was something military caregivers really took to that design. And I could totally understand it, because in a very short, sweet, succinct way, it was announcing that, I'm serving too.
Yeah.
And here in the United States, we're known as the silent ranks. It's for decades. And in many ways, I think that's what I got from the contact that I had with these Canadian military wives. And I could certainly understand that. And so, I've put out a Canadian line and the UK line, and also I'm bilingual. And so I've also put out a line in Spanish.
Muy bien.
Muy bien, gracias.
Me gusta español.
Hablas español. Don't make me test you now, Matt.
No, no ahora, porque es necesario por practicar todos los días.
Exactamente. Un poquito.
Yeah. So no, I'm not going to speak Spanish. With you.
Okay, all right.
I'm a bit rusty. I mean, we could in theory, but yeah, I kind of need to practice a bit more. I was just practicing a couple of days back with some Spanish people. Is it yesterday?
Really?
Yeah, yesterday. I was just talking to some people from Spain, actually. Yeah.
Well, do you speak any other languages?
No. Well, I did 8 years of French at school, but I haven't spoken French for a long time. I'm not against it. I think I need a French girlfriend. That may be the way.
Oh, well, you go. Well,
Yeah.
I know that, yes, well, we've talked. I apparently will be passing out some numbers to you.
Hilarious.
Yes,
That's
I can't help but
hilarious.
mention to all of our listeners out there
No.
that I actually have I've given Nathaniel the sort of moniker of Britain's George Clooney.
Hilarious.
Oh, not hilarious, actually. Quite brilliant.
It could be worse. It could be worse. I could look like someone else, right?
Well, yeah, you can't do too bad. It's not too shabby for that. Okay.
Classic.
Oh my God, I'm making you blush.
I am blushing. I'm blushing.
Sure you are.
Yeah, totally. But so in terms of like your entrepreneurial journey, right? Like when you started, what you've been through all sorts of trials and tribulations. Yeah. So you said about the market, like you've had to sort of understand the marketplace and this kind of stuff. So, what other sort of challenges have you sort of been through? I mean, obviously cash flow is always a challenge starting a business, but what else?
I think really because when I started the studio, I had an agent, and I knew that I knew I had to go with a boutique agency because this was something that nobody had ever looked at before. And this market. I mean, there's always lots of stuff on Zazzle, and you could go on any of these Etsy sites, and you'll see something that someone's making for with the military related in some way. But what I was doing is a little different. I was looking at placing it in retail. And so what really was the greatest challenge, I think, for both my agents and for myself in trying to keep it in a way, a bit of a broad stroke of a brush stroke, so that not make it so include, so much military, but more of an inspirational, but without losing sight of the reason why it was started. It was really the educating the public, and I did a lot of appearances and met a lot of manufacturers, and the studio was quite young when I kind of got interrupted with stage 3 breast cancer. And so I had to go and fight that for about 19 months.
Wow.
But at the same time, I traveled to Johns Hopkins, where I got my treatment in Maryland. And I traveled with my iMac, Mr. Windows.
Yeah, well, there we are.
Yes. But and my 2 dogs, by the way, back and forth from my home to spending a lot of time in treatment. So I kept it going. At least I kept all my contracts going. I introduced the teddy bear collection at that same time that I was going through treatment. Unfortunately, I made a few appearances, but wasn't exactly, it was a very aggressive treatment that I was going through. So I wasn't always in the best of shape. But so when I finished my treatment, I went forward, and I came back, and I was grateful that I was done, and I'm 2 years out, and knock on wood, I'm doing good.
Wow.
And so now it's I'm very excited about some of the opportunities that are coming my way for not only Homefront Girl, but also for me, in the sense of a lot of work that I'm doing to pass legislation to change a law that impacts military spouses here in America in a very negative way in the event of a divorce. And so that's something that I've taken on. It's because it impacted me, and it's too late for me, but it still doesn't mean that I just don't want another spouse to ever go through what I went through. It's just, it's not right. So that's one of the things that I'm very passionate about, that kind of goes hand in hand with the studio that I built with Homefront Girl. And along the way also, the opportunity to speak on what it's like to be a woman entrepreneur and taking the challenge of, especially as you're older, to go out there and kind of find your second act. And that's really what I feel that I did, and I say this, I'll be speaking at an event in October down in Charleston, South Carolina, to a large group of military spouses. And I was asked to speak, and the gist of it is that I'm self-taught. It was something I had a choice. I could, happily retire as a military spouse at the time. And, I don't know, I have no idea what I would be doing. Drinking all the wine in Wisconsin and all the cheese in Wisconsin. I don't know, because that's where I was. But I knew I needed to do something creative. And so I dug into what I had, which were, I kept journals my whole life. And of all of the experiences that I had gone through, witnessing so many things that just made an impression on me, from memorial services to just extraordinary lives that I met along the way, from all walks of life that decide to serve. And so that was what I dipped my pen in, or my brush in, to build a collection. And I'm always really blessed when I have the opportunity to go back in front of our veterans and just say thank you, and pass out a bear, sit and talk to them. And I think it's extraordinary opportunity to say thank you. And so when I talk on different podcasts and different radio or TV about my life and what inspired building the studio and putting a spotlight on this community, it's just it's not hard at all. And also, if I inspire other women to pursue a decision to go on an entrepreneurial journey, I'm all for it. I've always had this mantra that girls compete with each other, women empower one another, and I believe in women empowerment. So, that's sort of been what I've kind of had as sort of my guiding compass as I've gone through this. And I'm still quite, it's just starting, quote Madonna, I want to rule the world.
So excuse me. So let me see what I was going to say. So how long have you been sort of doing this?
Well, the trademark came through in 2013. Once I signed with UNESCO, which is a very large international gift company. They signed me with an exclusive contract for 3 years, and they put out about 250 SKUs. And I was but they loved the line the minute they saw it. And that was 2013. I knew that I had to pursue the trademark, because now it was going to be in, major stores across the country, and it was being launched, and I knew that I needed to protect it. So it was an expense. I think that goes with, again, talking about brands, and the expenses that come with that. The decision to go towards a trademark is a decision that, once you are building a brand and you feel that that's an important way of protecting your intellectual property, it is something to consider and move forward with, but it is expensive. I don't know what it is in the UK, but
oh yeah, it's expensive here. Yeah, getting
Yeah.
trademark. Yeah, for sure.
And it takes a long time. So I actually engaged a attorney to actually help me through this process. And I was very lucky that he actually had worked with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and so he had that sort of background as well. But so the trademark came, and then I made it into an LLC, and that was and then soon after we were talking. I mean, literally, we're talking 2014 when a lot of the collections were being launched. By October of 2015, my marriage imploded. And within a space of 5 months, I was diagnosed with cancer.
Wow.
So stress will do things to you. So, please, everyone understand that so anyway, as you could tell, it's a lot has been done in the time that I've had it. And I'm excited about where it's going and the opportunities that are presenting itself, and the way that people are learning about it. I'm looking forward to being on the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Oh, yes. You reminded me, I was going to ask you about that. So Ellen's pretty huge here actually as well. Like, people know of her. Ellen, what's her last name?
DeGeneres.
Yeah, people know of her here. For some reason, I keep having these Facebook competitions pop up from someone pretending to be Ellen.
Really?
Yeah, it's definitely not her. But
it's not her.
I doubt it. Her publicity guys are not going to be doing some spammy Facebook giveaways, are they?
No, I would definitely immediate delete on that.
I just deleted it. Yeah.
Yeah, and and I have to say, my publicist is the one that contacted them and everything. It's for the Memorial Day broadcast, right. And it's Ellen is such a special person. She's a person that exudes such optimism and caring and loving, and and also her humor. And I've always believed, and trust me, laughter got me through cancer and a lot of other situations as in the last couple of years. And I used to sit and watch Ellen while I was taking chemo for 4 hours. And I would listen to her, and that was like my escape to laugh and to cry at some of the stories. And so, she's one of those inspiring people that I hope it all comes through and I get to go and also speak about what, because it is the Memorial Day broadcast, as a daughter of a veteran and someone who raised someone in this life, my own experience and what it means to me. And it's something that I look forward to sharing with her audience. And, she, as I said, she is a person of such genuine heart. And that's something that I don't know if she knows how many lives that she's actually impacted. But I'm very, very happy to, and absolutely honored to be able to join that broadcast. So it's pretty exciting. And so, yes, that's great. And another thing is I'm working closely with an ambassador, one of the ambassadors for Gary Sinise on the Sinise Foundation, which I don't know if you know of him in the UK.
No.
Okay, well, did you ever watch the film Forrest Gump?
Yeah.
Okay, so the actor that played Lieutenant Dan, that's Gary Sinise.
Oh, cool.
Yes, and Gary Sinise, following September 11th, became very involved. He comes from a military family as well, and became very involved in reaching out and supporting our veterans. And it sort of became this foundation. And he's been recognized in our country, not only by our veterans, but the White House and so many other organizations for the kindness and the caring that he and his foundation have shown to the nation of what it truly means to support our troops. And I have one design that says support, it's a verb. And I really believe that. It's more than just saying thank you. It's okay, get out there. And if you know someone who has a family member who's deployed, ask them if they need help with their car. Do they need to have oil changed, or do they need their grass cut? anything like that. Those are the actions, little things that will mean enormous to someone who has a loved one. So I'm really excited to attend the Memorial Day concert at Washington, D.C. with Captain Leslie Smith, who's an ambassador for the foundation. And it's always held every year. It's called the Concert for America. And Gary will be there again, hosting it along with Joe Matenga, who is, do you guys get Criminal Minds over there?
I don't think I watch it. No, not myself.
Great,
probably
great show.
Yeah.
Great show. Well, I watch Broadchurch. You should watch Criminal Minds.
Broadchurch? What's that?
Oh, dear Lord. Who am I talking to?
I try not to watch that much TV. I'm too busy.
Oh, my goodness.
I am into a bit of NCIS, though. I'm not going to lie. I quite like that.
Okay, well, NCIS LA or New York had Gary Sinise.
Right.
So I don't know which one you're watching. There's just so many. But Broadchurch was great. But see, again, I had mentioned to Nathaniel, I am a huge Anglophile. I love Great Britain. I love the UK. I love London. But I also love BBC and all of your shows. I have Acorn app on my television, and I have a BritBox. Oh my gosh! Brilliant. So I grew up with Hyacinth.
No way.
Oh yes, absolutely.
That's a blast from the past. Hyacinth Bouquet. Hilarious.
Yes, and also The Vicar of Dibley, and Father Ted, and brilliant. And remember, I did mention to you. Oh, and by the way, the top one would be As Time Goes By with Dame Judi Dench, which I adore.
Oh yeah, I think I seem to remember that. I was quite young when that was out. I did watch it.
So was I. I watched the reruns. Thank you, Nat.
Classic. So back to like your struggles, right? With
like right now with you?
Yeah, not with me, no. So back to the struggles, with
the struggles.
It must have been really hard to continue with a positive mindset, but like you saying like that laughter was kind of your medicine, when you were going through all of that. And I can appreciate that. I think anyone that runs their own business or struggles in their career or whatever, has been through that and probably goes through it. I mean, the whole point is we're human, and no matter if you're a veteran or you're a spouse of a veteran or army wife, whatever, even if you're a normal person that has nothing to do with the army or the navy or whatever, we all go through mental health. I mean, that's in essence what we're talking about, staying happy no matter what, right? And like, that's just a massive thing, nowadays. And I mean, there's so much more awareness around it now, which is really, really good. And I think sometimes it's just someone reaching out to you and being nice to you could change your whole mood for the whole day, which will then help you to become more positive moving forwards, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I agree 100% with that. It really is, because as you and I talked, I mean, I have a home studio. You have your own studio at home, and it's hard to get away from it. So you have to make an effort of being able to sort of have some balance in your life, and mental health does come into it. Try to find things that, especially if you're a creative, you really need to step away and do something else that is outside, that's a little different, whether it's writing, which I enjoy tremendously, voiceover work, which I'm sort of getting into, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I might be able to make a great announcement by the end of the week. I will be very, very happy. But it's finding something else so that you sort of don't feel overwhelmed by the business that you are trying to build. Whether it's its beginning or it's at its zenith and it's just, doing extraordinarily well. I think the pressures are always going to be there, whether you're starting it midpoint or it's a success. And, I think as much as a success of any business, you're always trying to stay and keep it successful. So there's always going to be that pressure to continue to keep it going and keep it successful and keep it evolving and growing. Because I think especially brands, they need to be able to evolve. I think there's certainly many brands out there that can be pointed to as, how they've really evolved from what they started at to where they're at today. I know here where I'm at, I don't know if I'm sure because she has stores all over, but there's the Alex and Annie brand, which is a jewelry line.
Right.
And she's actually a local girl from here in the US and where I live. And, it's extraordinarily successful brand that she started in her garage. And she has been able to evolve the brand into other areas and done a lot of work with other brands. So there's been that sort of creative connection and with working with other creatives, which again, it expands from where she started to a whole new demographic perhaps that she's appealing to. And I think that's all part of, as you're going and growing a brand and moving forward, is you're looking for ways that not only enhance what you're doing, the message that you're trying to get out, the look, everything, but also that the brand is getting known in other areas that perhaps don't exactly fit it, but do work well. So, I had a jewelry line with a very amazing jeweler out of New York. And, I look forward to doing other things along those ways and working with perhaps some celebrities at getting they all love our men and women who serve. And, it's about the soldier, not about the war or the battle.
That's the problem, isn't it? We need to be more pro peace,
Absolutely. Well, and also understand that it's not the soldier. And I say this about Memorial Day too. And when I did a podcast was, it's a day not to reflect on why a war was fought, but to reflect on those that went.
Yeah.
And because that's not the day it's not a day to argue why any of that fought. And least of all with those who actually went. Yeah. And so, I think always looking for opportunities when you are starting any kind of business. My biggest advice to anyone who is listening, who has ideas and wants to push forward, and is just to really write down certain goals that you'd like and to see you achieve, and take it step by step, but don't overwhelm yourself with too many. I mean, it really does take baby steps to get you to where you're going, but always affirm to yourself that you everything is a learning curve. Nobody wakes up one day and is Bethany Frankel, who is a big entrepreneur on this side of the ocean, and I admire her tremendously for what she's built, but she started selling muffins, and so it was a definite way of how she got to where she is and the enormous success that she is today and the name brand that she is today. But it all starts with little things, and they may seem little, but just keep faith with what your initial goal is, and of course adjust it as you go along. I had to, in many ways, as I started Homefront Girl, because I thought I could use all these IP properties that were a part of my life, my entire life, and I soon discovered that I couldn't do that. Because they belong to the services. So I didn't use them. So I rebranded in my head how I was going to approach it. And I did. And so there's always going to be some obstacle, but it's only an obstacle if you don't look at it and say, okay, I can either go around it, I can go over it. There's always going to be a way that you can adjust. And still keep true to what you are trying to achieve as much as possible, but don't let it be a stumbling block to the goals that you set for yourself. And again, to any woman out there listening in the great UK, go for it. Absolutely. There's nothing to stop you other than your own fears. And I'm here to tell you that if I had done that and I had let my fears and doubts about doing any of this, I would still be wearing a cheese head in Wisconsin and probably watching the Housewives on Bravo. But and I wouldn't be here today. So I always just say, just keep working hard and don't lose sight of your goals, and never think that it's too late to start again, because it isn't.
Yeah. Well, I think that applies to anyone. It's not just women.
Absolutely. It does apply to anyone.
Yeah. And you just got to get on with it, haven't you, really? And, I was listening to like Mike Tobin, one of the episodes with him, and he's just like, the destination doesn't change, but the route might change. Like you might need to get an Uber, or you might be Ubered along the way. And if you are, then you need to find another way around it, don't you?
Absolutely. That's brilliant. I forgot he said that. I'm a huge Tobin fan. Just putting it up there.
He's very cool.
I think he's pretty awesome. I've watched, I have one episode I have to watch that you've done with him. So, but he's pretty brilliant. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's a very good quote.
Yeah, very much so. So how do people find you, Gaby, if they want to check out your stuff?
Okay. Well, you can go to www.homefrontgirl.com. And any manufacturers in the UK interested in Homefront Baby UK and Homefront Girl UK, you can contact me at Gaby@homefrontgirl.com. And my licensing agent is Firefly Brand Management. Cynthia Motters is president, and would love to see Homefront Baby in the UK as well as Homefront Girl. So that would be lovely. And yeah, absolutely. It's, I'm very much interested, because I know that this is it really is an international brand, and it's an inspirational brand in so many ways, from the greeting card line to the wellies I have, which are amazing, to, as I said, the summer collection will include, swimwear, and the travel bags are amazing. And those are currently also available on fancy.com, which is an international sort of a platform. So I can be found there, but absolutely reach out. And thanks so much for having me on.
Pleasure.
Daniel. It's been a
fun.
Pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. I was really nice to you, Nathaniel.
I know you were. You could have killed me out there.
I could have.
I know. I'm not ready for it today.
I know. You'd have not had enough.
Thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe, and wherever you prefer, share with your friends. And if you enjoyed the show, drop us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen.